Ko te wakahuia he kai kawe kōrero, he kai hāpai mā tauranga, he Kaitiaki Taonga. Mau ana ko te tapu o ngā taonga tukuiho, ko tā te wakahuia he hono i te hā o tua whakarere ki ngā pātaka mā tauranga o te wā. E putai he kōrero ki te whai ao, ki te ao mārama. A tēnā, kia whai tātou i te māramatanga i roto i ēnei taonga.
Tēnā koutou tamariki mā, nau mai ki tēnei hōtaka o Raranga Matihiko. Ko Sam Henari tōku ingoa, ko Jesse Roberson tēnei, and we both work at Te Papatonga Rewa here in Te Whanganui Atara.
And together with our friends at Waitangi Treaty Grounds, Te Peto Whenua, Waikato Museum, Te Whare Taonga o Waikato, and MTG Hawke's Bay Tai Ahuriri, we've got some awesome activities for you to do at your kāinga all around Kaitiaki Tanga. So, Sam, what does it mean to be a kaitiaki?
So, to be a kaitiaki means that we have a responsibility to look after and to care for the things that are precious to us. So, as kaitiaki who work in a museum, it's up to us to look after the taonga that are here. But another part of our job is also to help to support you to look after your taonga. So, Jesse, what are taonga?
Well, taonga are things that are special, precious and important to us. Things like our words and our stories, special places, unique environments, even people. They're things that we want to care about and that we look after. So I'm really excited. What are we going to be doing?
So in this series, we're going to be using digital tools to help explore the relationship that we have with taonga in the present and into the future. Nō reira, hea hai te taki mo te rā nei.
Well, today's kaupapa is Kaitiaki Tangata. To explore this, we're going to head to the Waitangi Treaty Grounds, where we're going to have a look at some letters and how they can help us look back at the past. Then we're going to come back to our lab where Alicia's going to show us some really cool activities to keep our memories safe. Sound good?
Ai, e pai ana ki au.
Awesome. Let's head to the Waitangi Treaty Grounds with Whaikiri.
Ngā mihi e hoa, and welcome to Waitangi. Tēnā koutou katoa, ko Kerry Leaf tōku ingoa, he uri ahau no Ngāpuhi. I'm here at the Waitangi Treaty Grounds in our brand new whare taonga, Te Rau Aroha, a museum that commemorates the service and sacrifice of Māori in the armed forces of Aotearoa. Many of the taonga housed in this museum belonged to or represent soldiers who fought as part of the Pioneer Battalion in World War I and the 28 Māori Battalion in World War II. Today I want to talk about a man who was very important to my own whānau. His name is Harding Waipuke Leaf, and he was born in Whirinaki in the Hokianga in 1890. Tū mai rā te maunga tapu o te Ramarua. Harding went on to serve in both world wars, and his very first introduction to fighting saw him sail to Gallipoli in 1915. That's over 100 years ago. Harding was awarded a medal called the Military Cross for courage and devotion to duty during service. And when war broke out again in 1915, Harding Leaf went back into battle. Unfortunately, this time he didn't come home, and my entire whānau lost a great man. In fact, that loss is still felt to this day. But one way we can remember my whanaunga and his service to Aotearoa is through the many items that he had with him during his time at war. These were things that were very important to Harding, his very own taonga, and his whānau have allowed us here at the Waitangi Treaty Grounds to look after these and keep them safe. They are also here so that other people can share in the memory of Captain Harding Leaf. This way, more people get to celebrate his service to our country and to learn a little bit more about him. While away at war, soldiers would often pass time by thinking of and writing to the people they loved back at home. Harding was no different, and we are able to picture what life must have been like on the front lines by reading some of the letters he sent to whānau. Many things that he saw and heard he couldn't put into words because they were so horrible for him. Remember, he was in the middle of a terrible war. I'll read some of his letter for you. After going through all this, I came to realise and be thankful that you, my son, are not in this dreadful business of slaughter. It's not so bad for me. I am in the autumn time of my life. But for one like you, well, I don't think they have a word for it in the English language. This letter is a reminder that no matter how far away from home we are, our whānau and those closest to us are the most important tangata, the most important people in our lives. They are and will forever be our taonga. And when they are gone, we have our memories and objects that hold a little part of them to remind us of the type of person that they were. Like Harding's letter. That's why it's so important to have safe places to store our most precious taonga, like museums, like our wakahuia, and to have people care for those taonga so that they are able to be treasured for many years to come. There are some really simple ways to be Kaitiaki Tangata, to learn, to save and care for people's precious memories so they can be passed on and remembered. I've got some ideas already and we'll return to the studio now so you can try a couple out. He ha o whakaaro e hoa. What do you think?
Kia ora, Kerry. Wow, isn't it cool that the Leaf family have trusted the museum with their taonga so that it can continue to tell his story?
Yeah, and in that story we actually see two really clear examples of Te Aki Tangata. The first is that the whānau continue to share the story of Captain Harding Leaf, and the second is that we see the captain, because he was a captain in the army, he had men that he was caring for as well.
It's so great that they're able to just continue celebrating such an amazing man who had such an amazing life. I'm going to head over to the lab now because I hear Alicia's got some really cool activities and ways that we can keep our memories safe. Let's go check it out.
Kia ora, Jess.
Hey Alicia, what are you up to?
Well, I've just gotten off the phone to our friend up in Waitangi, Kerry, and we had a little kōrero about how to keep our memories safe. Now, it inspired me to think about how I could store my memories so that they were digital and that they were safe.
Cool, sounds good.
Awesome. So I'm going to be using a tool today called Scratch. Have you heard of Scratch?
I think so.
So Scratch is actually an online tool that is free, and it kind of works like you're a programmer. So you're programming something to happen. Now this could be a quiz or an animation or a digital story or a game, anything really.
Sounds exciting.
So the first thing that I'm going to do in order for us to get to Scratch is I'm going to Google it.
Cool.
Now it's just this first one here, so I'm going to click on that. Now it's really important for you guys at home that you have a Scratch account and that you're logged in, because we want to be able to save our mahi so that we can come back to it, because we can't always finish things right then and there.
But it's free to create an account?
Yep, absolutely free.
Perfect.
So once you've logged in or you've created your account, you want to go to the Create button. You click on that and it'll send you to this page. So here we have our sprite in this corner. We have our collection of sprites that we were going to get to later on. And here we have our workspace. So what we want to do is we want to kind of program in that workspace in order for the sprite to do something.
And sprite's another word for character, right?
Yep, absolutely. So your sprite is kind of like your character. So for me, I'm going to be talking about my memories. Now, I don't necessarily want a cat talking about my memories. I want to find a sprite that's more a little bit like me.
Okay.
So I'm going to click the rubbish bin here. Do you see that?
Yep.
And I'm going to get rid of the cat. But now I can choose the one that I want.
Cool.
So I'm going to head down to this button here. This is kind of like our sprite collection center. So I'm going to hover over it and not click straight away, because if I click, it's going to go straight into the first option. I am going to choose the first option this time, but I might not want to every single time.
Okay.
And I'm going to look for a character that looks a little bit like me, or something that represents me. So for some of you it might be a bear or a butterfly. We've got dinosaurs. There's all sorts that you can choose from.
Yours is the beetle, right?
Not quite.
Okay.
So I'm going to choose Abby as my character today.
Oh, cool.
Now there's a little bit of a problem with Abby.
Is she supposed to be representing you?
That's right. Does she look like me?
Not exactly.
So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change what she looks like a little bit so that it is more like me.
Cool.
Along the top here, you will notice that there are some tabs. I'm going to click on the Costumes tab and I will get my character.
Ah.
So what I can do now is I can actually change her to look a little bit more like me. I think the easiest way for that to be done is to change the hair colour, of course. So I'm going to click on the hair, then I go to this fill button here, and I can actually change the hair to be a little bit more like me. So I'm going to go for kind of a blonde hairstyle.
Perfect.
Awesome. When I'm done with that, all I have to do is go back to code. Awesome? With me so far?
Yep, sounds
Cool. So what I need to do now is I need to start coding, which is the most exciting part, the part where we can have the most fun. I'm going to click on the event section. Now an event is going to tell me when the things are going to begin.
good. Right.
Cool. So I drag out the when start flag is clicked. There are multiple options that you can actually use to start your Scratch project, such as when the space key is pressed, or when any key is pressed, or when the sprite is clicked. But for me, when the start flag is clicked is the easiest for me to remember. Cool. It works kind of like if you were running a race and I would tell you when to go.
Right.
If I didn't yell out go to you, you wouldn't know to start running.
No.
So we need to do the same thing with our code. So for me, I'm going to get my sprite to talk about my favourite memory.
What's your favourite memory?
So I made this little jar here before, which is actually a memory jar. So for those of you that don't have a computer and you're following along at home, you can feel free to make yourself a little jar. Now we've put ours with lights in it to make it really pretty and light up, but you could do anything. You could attach cardboard around the side, paper around the side, cellophane, anything you can find at home and decorate it to represent you.
Awesome.
Now there is one thing that you need to be careful of though. We've used lights here, so it's really important that if you are going to use lights and you have access to lights at home, that you make sure you check it by an adult first and you use it safely.
Cool. Can we ever go at putting some of our own memories in it?
Absolutely.
Yes. Okay, I've got some paper and pens here.
What's your first memory going to be?
I'm going to put a memory in of my favourite puppy that I had when I was a kid, and his name was Chester.
Oh, exciting.
Do you want a pencil?
Perfect. I'm going to put my first memory as the day I started school, because that was a pretty big day.
Yeah.
Now I do also have some other memories in there that we're going to talk about in a moment.
And we just fold them up and put them in?
Just fold them up, pop them in, keep them nice and safe.
That's a
You
really
can
cool
decide if you want to have a lid or if you want to keep it without the lid, entirely up to you.
That's a really cool way for us to keep our memories.
Absolutely. So my memory that I've chosen for today's Scratch project is actually this one, which is being taught how to ride a bike by my opa, or my grandfather.
Ooh.
Yeah, it was a very, very special day. Now, I need to make sure that I have a backdrop
Okay.
as well, because it's not going to make much sense for the story if you don't know where it's set.
Unless it's in a big white cloud.
Exactly. So I'm going to, again, hover down here. I'm not going to click straight away. And then I'm going to choose a backdrop. Now, my opa, or my grandpa, he taught me how to ride a bike on the grass because I was really scared about hurting myself on the concrete. So he thought that the grass would be safer.
It's a good idea.
Yeah. Now, can you see a field anywhere that I could use for this project? Oh, perfect. The playing field. And that looks quite a bit like the field that was at my school.
Perfect.
So now that I've got my backdrop and my sprite and I've got my starting for my project, I can now add in my code. Now you'll see that down the side here, they are all in different colours. Now the colours represent the different types of coding blocks that we have. So you can see that events is a yellow, looks is purple, etc., etc. Now we're going to be using the yellow and the purple and maybe even possibly the blue today. Now I'm going to drag out this say block, which means that when I connect those two together, those two blocks, Abby, or in my case it's me, is going to talk about her favourite memory, and you'll see it run across the screen.
Cool. Let's make her say something. I'm excited.
Cool. Okay, so what, I guess for me, when I was younger, he came over from the Netherlands and he then taught me how to ride the bike. So we need to put that into a story.
Okay.
So I'm going to write, when I was 8 years old, my opa came over from the Netherlands. Cool. And I'm going to connect those two together because that's what I was saying before. You've got to make sure that they click together for them to work.
Perfect.
So I'm going to continue my story. So when I was 8 years old, my opa came over from the Netherlands. We went down to my local school. Cool. I'm going to grab another block. And this time I'm going to put, I was really struggling to learn how to ride my bike. And another block. After practicing for hours, we finally did it. I could ride my bike. Cool. So that is my whole entire story, or my memory. Now, how do you think we might get the Scratch project to play?
Well, I'm going to say click the green flag because that's the yellow block that we put in.
Absolutely. So it's actually in the event block itself. It gives us the instruction of what we need to do. So I'm going to press the green flag and let's watch and see what happens.
Okay. When I was 8 years old,
Uh-oh. What happened there?
Where's the rest of the story?
I think because it says here that it was only going to run for 2 seconds.
Okay.
That's like 1, 2.
Okay.
So do you think we might need to make it longer?
I think it'd probably take about 10 seconds to say that whole story.
Okay, let's try and put 10 seconds in.
Okay.
Now what Jessie and I have just done is we have debugged. Now debugging is when you find that there's something wrong with your code and it doesn't quite work the way you want it to, and you go back and you try and fix it. Now there's a really big word that helps us with that, and it's called decomposition. And decomposition is breaking down the task into smaller steps and figuring out which one of those smaller steps didn't quite work properly.
Okay.
Cool. So let's play it again, shall we? All right, green flag, go.
When I was 8 years old, my opa came over from the Netherlands. Where's the rest of it?
Where did it go? Now, if the blocks aren't together, they aren't going to know when to run. So I'm going to drag these and put them all in the right sequence so that my story actually makes sense. And then we'll try again. All right, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Awesome. So let's click the green flag.
When I was 8 years old, my opa came over from the Netherlands. We went down to my local school. I was really struggling to after practicing for hours.
Uh-oh. What did we do this time?
I mean, we had all the story, but the first part was too long, and then the rest of it was too short.
So we need to go back and debug again to figure out how to make this right.
There's a lot of debugging sometimes.
There is, and it continuously happens. We never stop debugging. So, how long do we want to have the first part run for?
I think I probably only need about 5 seconds to say that.
Okay, let's put in 5. For the second part of the story, how long would you like?
That's a shorter sentence, so let's go with 3.
3 seconds.
Then I think we do 5 for the last 2.
5 for the last 2. All right, I hope this works. Okay, let's click the green flag again.
When I was 8 years old, my opa came over from the Netherlands. Awesome. We went down to my local school. I was really struggling to learn how to ride my bike. After practicing for hours, we finally did it. I could ride my bike. Yes, that worked really well.
Perfect, I'm so happy. Now the one thing I did notice was that we haven't quite given our project a name.
No, we haven't.
So if I'm going to go back into my Scratch projects and try and find it again, I'm not going to be able to know what it is called. So I'm going to name it, and by doing that we just have to click up here in the box, press backspace, and I'm going to call it my memory. Cool.
Perfect.
Because it's really important to name your stuff so that you can find it again.
Definitely.
Cool. Awesome. All right. Now there's actually something else that we can do to make our story even more exciting, because at the moment I'm only talking about my memory, which to me is really exciting, but to those of you watching at home, you might want to see my animation do a little bit more.
Ooh.
So I'm going to add in another sprite. The difference being this time that the sprite isn't going to say anything, it's just going to act there as like a prop.
Okay.
So I'm going to choose a sprite. Now I want a thing that looks kind of like a memory jar or a memory box. Can you see anything on here? Maybe the bowl?
Yeah, let's use a bowl.
Cool, awesome. So this is going to be my memory bowl,
Memory
jar,
bowl.
box, whatever you'd like to call it. Okay, so you'll see now that my sprite is I'm clicked onto the bowl. So I've selected the bowl as my sprite. What I want to do is make sure that I've actually selected Abby as the sprite that I'm working with,
Okay.
in order to make sure that she is coded and not the bowl, because the bowl isn't going to do anything. So I click on Abby.
Right. I can see. Now your
And-
code comes back.
Exactly, it's all back there again. This time I'm going to use the motion and it's going to move. We're going
That's
to get it
exciting.
to walk. I'm going to pull apart my code because I need to slip my instruction in the middle of that.
Okay.
And I'm going to get her to move. Shall we see what happens when she moves 10 steps?
Yep.
Awesome. How am I going to do that?
Push the flag.
Great. So I'm going to click on the flag.
That wasn't 10 steps. That was like half of one step.
It actually was 10 steps, but 10 steps is really, really tiny.
Right.
So in order to get Abby to the bowl, what do I need to do?
Put like 100 steps.
She thinks 100. All right, let's give 100 a go.
We might have to debug this a bit.
Brilliant.
Yes.
Nice job.
Good guess.
Okay, so I'm going to move Abby back a little bit this time so that we know she's in the right spot. Now I'm also going to get Abby to introduce what's going on. So I might grab another say block, and this time I'm just going to get her to say kind of, hey, here's my memory jar, this is what my memory is.
Okay.
So I might say, this is my memory box and it keeps my memories safe. Because we're all about keeping our memories safe.
Just like our memory jar.
Exactly. I'm going to drag this and connect this all together, and then I'm going to press the flag.
Press the
However,
flag.
I have remembered, last time we learnt that it was too short or too long.
Yes.
So let's see if we can get it right this time. How many seconds do you think I should say that for?
4, because it's a little bit shorter than the 5 one.
Awesome, great job. All right, let's press on the green flag.
This is my memory box and it keeps my memory safe. Wow, she moved fast.
Didn't she?
When I was 8 years old, my oppa came over from the Netherlands. We went down to my local school. I was really struggling to learn how to ride my bike. And after practicing for hours, we finally did it. I could ride my bike.
Awesome, so we've now created our first Scratch project together, which is pretty exciting.
That sounds so cool.
I'm going to keep tutoing here and playing and having a go with it, adding more code where I can, and I want you guys to have a go at home as well.
Awesome. I'm going to go back and tell Sam all about it.
Awesome.
Hey Sam, did you see that really cool animation that Alicia made of the memory of her oppa, her grandfather, teaching her how to ride a bike?
Yeah, it was really cool to see how you can use a digital tool, in this case Scratch, to keep those memories safe. It really shows Kaitiaki Tangata.
I'm excited to go and use Scratch coding at home so that I can come up with some animations to keep my memories alive. And remember, if you don't have a computer or Scratch coding at home, you can make one of these memory jars too, because they can help keep your memories safe.
So we'd love you guys to do your own creations when you get home, show them to your whānau, and if you're up for it, we'd love you to share it on social media using the hashtag below.
That's all from us today. We'll see you again.
Ka kite anō.